Call the meeting to order. I would like to make a note that this meeting is being televised and recorded. If anyone in the audience is recording or videotaping, I would ask that they acknowledge this at this time. Michael Roush from the Enterprise, thank you. Good evening. All items within the meeting agenda are subject to deliberation and votes by the Board of Selectmen. I'd like to take a moment of silence now for our troops and our public safety personnel. Thank you all.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have a request from one of the members in the audience due to a previous engagement to take one of the items out of order, and that would be under 9A, which is the tax title of 26 Puritan Road. I would ask the board at this time if we could do that directly after correspondence.
So move.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, would we take both out of order, or,
We
9A
can
and
if
B?
it,
yes, A and B on 9?
okay. Do that.
Okay.
Need a second motion for that, Mr. Chairman?
No, we'll just do it.
We'll just go ahead and take care of that. I wonder if we might go ahead,
Oh.
is there any public correspondence? Sorry, public comment? I'm sorry, Mr. Jim? Thank you. Is Karen, is it Gabides? I'm sorry for the mispronunciation. Please, Karen. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Happy New Year.
Oh, thank you.
So I may be able to spare you my comments if I can just get some information, because I think.
We cannot debate, we cannot debate public comment.
Well, I kind of have a question about, I have questions about the turbines. I've been away on other business, and so I've kind of missed a couple meetings, but I did receive a message from Mr. Garino, and I guess it's concerning for me because I understand you're trying to have, to keep the discussion about litigation private, yet it makes it difficult for the residents to understand how the process is proceeding, and if it is proceeding, and if it's actually proceeding in a manner that's going to be supportive of us. And so is there any information that you can give us about what is happening with the legal end of the question around the turbines? And I understand that there's supposed to be a Board of Health meeting with a vote about processes, I think. I did speak briefly to Terry Garino, who sounded a little frustrated and said that the town didn't really have the resources to pursue this any more quickly than it's going. And, you know, I guess I feel like the town has a responsibility to attempt to enforce the bylaws that are in place. And I know that this is difficult, but I really feel that this is a very serious precedent-setting case, in that the only case law that has been located is from 1901 and doesn't have anything to do with what we're dealing with today. But there's nothing in the records, in the legal records in the United States, that has to do with the wind turbines. And my concern is that as Bourne residents, if we live on the border of any other town, of which there are many surrounding Bourne, that all of a sudden our property value isn't what it is, and our right to the same protection that the rest of the town has don't exist, because the towns that abut us don't have to have the same rules that we have, which I understand, but the differences affect us greatly. And I think that this is going to come up in other towns and other states across the country, and we are setting precedent. If we don't take a serious step forward to protect the borders, we're in trouble. You know, if Wareham needs wind turbines, why not put them on the border of Bourne? Because they can't stop us. So all of the protection that we think we have is for naught, and if we're not involved in the permitting process, which perhaps the town should have been with Plymouth, then we're not protected. So I'm concerned that it feels like it's moving much too slowly, and that more resources need to be put into place to see this move forward, because we can't undo what gets done, and it's hard. Perhaps it is moving faster than I think, but because it's not public knowledge, it's hard to just sit back and wait to see what happens. And I'm wondering if you can give us any assurance that this is actually progressing in a positive way.
I cannot provide any additional information relative to the litigation. What I can provide you is I am going to read a letter which I was going to read under a report of the Selectmen this evening. I'll read it now for your benefit so you don't have to hang around. But what it addresses is why things may not have progressed more quickly. And I think both yourself and all the townspeople need to be aware of why we have not seen other things taking place. This is an email which was sent on December 22nd from Robert Troy, Town Council, to Thomas Guarino, Town Administrator. I'll remind you that the Board of Selectmen took a vote, I think it was on gonna be okay?
Excuse me? Yeah.
On December 1st, to allow the Board of Health to speak with Town Council relative to taking some type of action legally relative to future generation wind. And the Board of Health had its first meeting with Town Council on the 9th of December. Mr. Guarino, this is to confirm my communications with the Board of Health agent with you with respect to the prerequisites for civil litigation alleging allegations and violations of the Town of Bourne Wind Energy Conversion System regulations. Pursuant to Section 7 of the regulations, and these are the regulations the Board of Health adopted, enforcement is effectuated by the following process. The Board of Health or its agent shall enforce of non-compliance with an enforcement order that the board may seek and obtain injunctive orders in Superior Court restraining violations of these regulations. A review of the documentation forwarded to me by the Board of Health does not reflect the issuance of any enforcement orders. It is my opinion, as Town Council, the Board of Health must observe procedural due process established by a public hearing process to issue an enforcement order expressing the board's determination that the regulations have been violated, citing specific provisions of the regulations. The board must also promulgate standards and timeframes for compliance. If the board determines that its enforcement order is met with non-compliance, then they may seek an injunctive order delineated in Section 7 of their regulations. Could you kindly confer with the Board of Health agent to secure compliance with the requirements of the regulations? The process defined in the regulations is a jurisdictional prerequisite to the filing of the civil complaint seeking an injunctive relief in the Superior Court. In other words, the Town Council can't take any action until an action is taken by the Board of Health in establishing an enforcement order and then determining that an enforcement order has been violated.
Okay. Thank you. And
Very welcome.
we could request that the Board of Health meet sooner than their scheduled date. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
They're
Thank you
elected.
very much.
There isn't anyone else. Is there anyone else that wants to have any public comment at this time? Seeing none. I wonder if we might go through the minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Guarino.
on two items on the one relative to the minutes and one other. On your agenda, it indicates that the minutes for October 13th are to be approved. October 13th minutes were approved, and they've been filed with the town clerk, and they were posted on the town's website on December 18th. So we were looking for quite a few minutes, and we made an error, listed this one in error, and we apologize to the board for that. And when we get to correspondence, I'll have another comment, but.
Okay.
So October 13th does not need to be approved.
All right, so in our package this evening, we've got minutes from February 24th of 2015. Is there a motion to
Yeah.
approve?
Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of the minutes of February 24th, 2015, with one change on page 2. First full paragraph. I believe in the second line, second to last word, it should be relative to a letter from the residents, residents, of Indian Trail, not residents of Indian Trail, I believe. Would move approval based on that correction.
Is there any other corrections on that set of minutes for February the 24th and 15? Is there a second to motion to approve as amended?
Second.
Thank you, Peter. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval as amended, the minutes of February 24th, 2015? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Abstain.
One abstention. Thank you. 4 with 1 abstention. Carol?
Next one, Mr. Chairman, is May 12th, 2015, regular session minutes. I would move approval of the minutes with the following corrections on page 14. Second to last line of the page, there's a, down the road, we do experience economic growth. I think that's do instead of D-I. And then again on page 16, excuse me, is, I believe that's Neil Langile, not Neil Angelo. It's L''A-N-G-I-L-E, I believe.
I-L-L-E.
I-L-L-E. And that's under, that's the, at the very bottom, Carol, right here, on that, if you have that. Okay.
Motion, I'll second it.
I've got a motion that's been made and seconded to approve as amended the minutes of May the 12th of 2015. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
4 with 1 abstention, Carol.
Next
The
one,
minutes of 9:15:15.
move approval as presented, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. I have a motion that's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of 9:15:2015. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. October the 7th.
I've move approval of the minutes for October 7th, Mr. Chairman, with the following corrections on page 13. I don't believe it's federal sentencing guidelines in the second to last paragraph. I think it's just federal guidelines.
Yeah.
So we're going to strike the word
We're gonna
sentencing?
strike the word sentencing.
Okay.
On page 16. It should probably state, and this is just my opinion, last paragraph, Mary Jane Mastrangelo, speaking on behalf of herself, wanted to take the opportunity, but perhaps it should be made a little clearer that speaking for herself and not as Finance Committee Chairman in the last paragraph.
It's on the bottom of
The
16,
bottom of
Carol?
16. Page 18. No, that's it. Sorry.
Chairman.
Mr. Blanton?
Back to page 16 on the third and fourth paragraphs, there's a reference to Michelle Spinney from Monument Beach. Her name is spelled S-P-I-N-N-E-Y, right? Both places.
Okay.
If you got a motion, I'll second it with those amendments.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes as amended. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, November 10th, 2015 meeting, I would move approval of the minutes and and I believe on page 9, and where it says voted, Peter Meyer moved and seconded by Michael Blanton to table this till Monday, November 16th. Don Pickard proposed. I don't know what.
That you proposed. that-
Opposed, I believe that's opposed. Imagine that, 4-1, me opposing.
I
Okay.
made a motion, I'll second with that amendment.
It's been a motion made to approve as amended the minutes of November 10th, 2015. It's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
December 8th, 2015, Mr. Chairman, we have minutes, and I would move approval with the following corrections. I do not believe Mr. Ryan Barber on page 1 was still with the Cape Cod Times on December 15th.
He was not. He was not.
And also on page 7, it should probably say under 9A, when it's talking about committee assignment, it should say police instead of public safety. And so it should police and fire under my name and Mr. Ellis's. So it should say police and fire instead of public safety and fire.
Okay.
This is-
I'll second that. And also on page 1, the reporter's name is Madeline List, L-I-S-T, for the Cape Cod Times now. And she started back in
Did you get that? Madeline List? Ryan wasn't either, we know that.
yeah.
Ryan was,
Huh?
Last thing I saw, Ryan, he had a fishing pole down somewhere in Florida he was
Yeah.
casting, so.
next one, Mr. Chairman, in November.
Wait a minute, I didn't
Oh,
want to
sorry.
finish the 8th.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion made and approve the minutes of December 8th as amended? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. One more.
December 15th, Mr. Chairman, move approval with the correction on page 8, which I'm not sure that, under 11, Town Administrator's Report, Mr. Greenestay, we have had our initial meeting with Mr. Celiak. I don't believe it's Mr. Celiak.
not.
I think it's
Ciolek.
C-I-O-L-E-K. Celiak, I believe, is something that
That's something
bothers your
completely different.
intestinal tract.
Second.
Okay, or any other motion,
Damn spell check.
any other amendments to the motions? Okay, I've got a motion that's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of December 15th as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. There are executive minutes from the evening of 11/10/2015.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the executive session minutes for November 10th, 2015, and we should probably, do we need to encumber them? It's basically about the CMed and dispatch was all discussed, I believe.
I believe we can probably release.
Question?
Mr. Blair,
I'll second, but I'm just wondering if we should ask the town administrator before we let these go into the public? Make sure that all the whole subject matter's been,
I think everything here was discussed publicly in our meeting afterwards. It's relevant to the,
I believe they can be released.
it was relevant to the SAFER grant, so
the motion is to approve and,
to approve and release to the public, for public consumption with changes on page 3, where in the first paragraph, about the 6th row down, the phone at the dispatch center, wither, W-I-T-H-E-R, should probably be weather. Page 9. Did we, this is more of a question, did we vote? I see no vote. It was a motion. Did we, not vote this matter?
You did not vote that matter.
Okay,
Didn't receive a second, I don't believe.
okay,
Yeah, it was not voted.
okay. All right, so there we go.
you made a motion, I'll second it.
I've got a motion that's been made to approve and amend the executive minutes of 11/10/15 and release them. Is there a second to that, Peter?
Yes.
Okay. Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Now, there's a number of minutes here to
Unencumbered.
unencumber. The executive minutes of January 15th, 2014.
Motion
We
to
don't-
unencumbered.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Guarino.
I think you could probably do those all in one motion.
Just do that.
All right.
I will not withdraw my motion.
Sure, if you would,
All right,
Mr.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we unencumber the executive session minutes of January 15th, 2014, March 25th, 2014, April 10th, 2014, July 22nd, 2014, September 14th, 2014, September 30th, 2014, and February 4th, 2015.
Second.
Thank you. I've got a motion, and it's been made and seconded to unencumber and release the aforementioned minutes, executive minutes. Is there any discussion on that motion?
Just a question with a point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Certainly.
As these are executive session, do you need a roll call vote for these or not?
Not to release them.
Not really. Thank you.
Any other questions relative to the motion that's been made and seconded? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all. You want to take us through the correspondence?
Mr. Clerk, if I could just acknowledge one other piece. Mr. Ellis,
Yes.
a couple of weeks ago, submitted a letter from Mr. Jaworski to be distributed to all selectmen. It was not included in the packet. The board does have it in front of them this evening. It will be included in correspondence at the next meeting, so it is recorded appropriately, and we apologize to Mr. Ellis for missing that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, you are correct, Mr. Guarino. We do have copies of that, and I have added them to the correspondence here, but I guess we'll be acknowledging them next
Correct.
meeting. With regard to the correspondence that we do have for today, we do have a letter from the Division of Marine Fisheries. So Fisherman's Cove, off of Buttermilk Way and off the sand spit of Mass Maritime. Roll up your pant trousers and go ahead and go shell fishing now in January, because it's open to shell fishing. And we have a letter from Ms. Laura Senna. For personal reasons, she has decided to resign from the Bourne School Committee and the Bourne School Building Committee. And I'm sure we appreciate all of her efforts on the school, both of those committees. There's also a letter from, this is telecommunications and cable. It's regarding cable rate regulation. They included a form, and I'm just going to read just real briefly from an excerpt here. The reference is to the Federal Communications Commission reversed their longstanding presumption that cable companies are not subject to effective competition, creating instead a rebuttable presumption that cable companies are subject to effective competition. And under this new FCC ruling, the franchising authority that wishes to retain its cable rate regulation authority must file a new certification, the FC Form 328. So they included a copy of that for us to peruse. There is an email from a Pat King, and it's with regard to a building permit that was issued for 623 Head of the Bay Road in Buzzards Bay. Some concerns with regard to inspections, and she is dissatisfied with some of the outcomes and may be appealing the matter to the Commonwealth. So that copy of the email is in our correspondence there for you to review. There's also a letter from the Department of Environmental Protection, and that DEP letter is with regard to amending the administrative consent order with the town of Bourne. It moves most of our compliance dates from October 1 of this year to February 1 of, October 1 of last year to February 1 of this year. Did you want to add something? to that?
I will at the end, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you. And then lastly, we have a letter from the Department of Veterans Services. That's funded in part by budgetary additions from the various towns. They apprised us of the town of Bourne's contribution in this matter for FY17 budget year for Veterans Services. And although I don't have an
But that
actual
is,
number,
and those are the administrative costs only, and they're around $28,000 to $30,000.
$28,000 to $30,000. And it says the budget is an overall decrease
Yes.
of about 3.7% from the previous fiscal year. So, and then there is lastly that last edition of the letter as referenced by Mr. Guarino with regard to the Jaworskis. And we'll take that up under next meeting, and that's the conclusion of the correspondence, although I do recall, Mr. Chairman, there was an email that you sent on out asking something else be added to correspondence.
I just
Was
read
it
it,
this
but I'm
letter?
going to cover it again in
Okay.
the,
Then that concludes all the correspondence.
okay. Any questions relative to anything we've received in correspondence? Mr. Guarino?
I'm sorry, Mr. Meyer.
No, it's not a question. Well, two things. A is to recognize Laura Center for her time served. Yep, thank you for the letter. I've dealt with her in various capacities on both committees, and she's been exceptional. You know, and unfortunately, she has priorities that take her away, but hopefully she'll come back at some point and serve the town again. And let us see on the telecommunication and cable rates. We approved the contract with Comcast when 2012.
Correct, thereabouts.
Now, year 7, we can look to get out of the contract. I think it's a 10-year contract, and we can get out in year 7.
I believe you're correct. I would have to go back and look at the fine print in the contract, Mr. Meyer.
I just like to I know we're talking a few years away, but just keep in the back of our mind that when that year comes up, I would seriously consider getting out and maybe looking at a new provider or having more than one provider, because there's a lot of people in this community that have fed up with Comcast rates and customer service, and they feel they're not getting enough money for what they're paying for, and maybe we should be looking at going out shopping. And so, when that year 7 comes up, if I'm still on the board, I would like to get out of the Comcast and see what we can do for the residents of this town.
Okay, thank you, Peter. I believe that the vacancy on the school committee will be filled by a joint meeting between the Board of Selectmen and the school
Correct.
committee, and we'll try to schedule it as soon as we can.
And I'm in communication with the superintendent
Yep.
in that regard, Mr. Chairman.
Great. Okay,
Just one quick, if I could, on E, the DEP administrative consent order. There's no change in the prior administrative drafts that had come down. There had been clerical issues on the DEP end, on the dates weren't matching within the letter, and we kept having to send it back so it would get clarified. That's so they've extended the date till February, but this deals with the Marine Life Center properties, and nothing has changed within the ACO other than the date, but we had some difficulties having them coordinate the dates in their letter.
okay. I'd like to go ahead and skip ahead to accommodate the members of the audience to 9A, which is the tax title for 26 Puritan Road at this time, if we could. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening, Chairman Mealing. My name is Stuart Rapp, and members of the board, my name is Stuart Rapp. I'm an attorney in practice here on the Cape, and I'm representing an attorney by the name of Robert Dimmler. Attorney Dimmler was appointed as a commissioner by the Barnstable Probate and Family Court in order to sell the property located at 26 Puritan Road. And much to his chagrin, when he entered into a purchase and sale agreement, it was determined that title had That's okay. Title had moved from the Cristoforis. There are two brothers and sisters. They obviously couldn't get along, and one of them filed a petition to partition. They were lax on paying their taxes. It went to a foreclosure, and it was title actually transferred to the town. Town actually has title currently. I've been in conversations, or I've had conversations with your collector, Attorney Coppola. He's been very helpful in providing me with a breakdown of the costs and expenses that would be necessary to redeem the property. I've been in conversation with Town Council, Attorney Troy, and he's explained to me that he has spoken with the town and has told me precisely that it is at your discretion as to whether or not you're willing to cooperate with the redemption of the property. I'm here tonight to just tell you that I have a check from my client funds account payable to the town of Bourne. I have a couple checks, actually. One check in the amount of $24,382.37, which was the figure that Attorney Coppola provided to me, that was the redemption amount up through December 31st of 2015. Unfortunately, I was informed prior to that date, when I was able to collect those funds, that the town could not accept those. I was prepared to come down to the town hall and provide that check at that time. But I was informed that we had to have a hearing, or the town needed to have a hearing. So I then communicated with Attorney Capola and obtained from him the per diem amount, and he's given me 2 per diem amounts. So I have a second check, which I believe covers the per diem amount from January 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and that 5th is today, and through the 6th. That amount is $38.24. It's my understanding, based on the calculation that I did, based on the numbers I received from Attorney Capola. I've also got another check that's blank. So if my calculations are wrong, I'm delighted to write another check. So I'm here to ask if the board would consider allowing a redemption of this property so that my client, the commissioner, can sell it for the Christoforis who couldn't get along. The sale was originally scheduled to take place on the 22nd of January, and that's obviously been held up. The buyers are ready, willing, and able, and they're about ready to sign an extension to close if the redemption is allowed.
Okay. For background for the members of the audience, the taxes have gone unpaid from, where did I get this one? 2011 through 2015. The actual actions by the town actually proceeded in 2012, and after many court dates in which no one showed, we actually proceeded with foreclosure, which was granted to the town in October 13th, 2014, and then the court waited a year until 2015 before providing the town for complete foreclosure and assume ownership of the property. My understanding is that the P&S was actually entered in after the town's foreclosure had been granted by the courts in November. And unfortunately, the buyer was not aware of the fact, nor was she told about, or he was told about, the town taking the property prior to it, over a year prior to it. I also understand that we can't accept payment for any back taxes except from the owners of the property. So I'll leave it up to the board tonight to determine if they want to allow that to occur at a later date or not. We'll have to determine what other expenses the town's incurred in addition to the back taxes, obviously.
Mr. Chairman, there has certainly been insurance that we have incurred. We've had to
Right.
insure the property. We've had to pay other things to secure the property.
All the utilities have been brought over to the town.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
In my discussions with Attorney Capola, he provided to me the cost that the town incurred for insuring the property. I understand that locks were changed.
Yes.
So the number that he gave me that was up good through the 31st, I'm informed, included the cost to change the locks, insure the property, and do the various things in addition to the taxes and an interest that had occurred.
Okay.
Or
I would still check with our treasurer. To be sure that all those are correct. I'm not questioning Attorney Capola. I just know that, and it's at the pleasure of the board what they're going to do anyways, but.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, the money that I'm holding in my client funds account is not my client, who's the commissioner appointed by the court. This money was received from the 2 record title holders prior to the town taking title. They're both represented. One is represented by Attorney Lasordo. He sent me his client's funds, which I've put in my escrow account. And the other title holder is represented by Attorney Ford O'Connor, and he sent me his client's money. So they don't seem to get along, and as a result, I offered to accept those monies, hold them in my client's funds account, and pay them to be, if you will, the facilitator to get it done for them because
Thank
they can't get along. So in essence, this is the owner's money that I'm holding. It's not the attorney's money, it's the record title holder prior to the town's money.
Thank you. Any other questions from gentlemen on the board? Mr. Blanton?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was going to ask the question, why hadn't the title owners come to rectify the situation earlier? But I think you've clearly indicated several times that there's some tension between the heirs.
I think that's putting it mildly. Typically, in situations like this, when a petition to partition is filed, that means that the record title holders are just completely at loggerheads and can't agree on anything. I had no idea that it went back to 2011 for taxes that are outstanding, which is, it indicates that it's been stewing for a number of years.
I guess that goes to my concern with the amount of time that they've had to try to cure this default. It's not a recent matter or a recent issue. It's gone on for a number of years. And the town has had to go through an awful lot of administrative costs as well as financial costs to try to notify the properties, been ignored several times, incurred court costs. It's not at an insignificant cost to the town. And at this point in time, the town does have ownership.
And I respect that position, I honestly do.
It's not where we want to end up, but it is a result of ending up at the end of this process when a property owner doesn't pay taxes in town for a number of years and been notified,
Right.
as I'm sure you're well aware.
Any other questions, gentlemen, or a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd move that the Board of Selectmen not vacate the property located at 26 Puritan Road, described in the letter from the Treasurer's Office as parcel 38, Assessors Map 19.4.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion made and seconded not to vacate the property as being discussed at 24 Central Boulevard, parcel 72, Assessors Map 30.2. Is there any other discussion on that motion?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. That should be Puritan Road.
26 Puritan Road, didn't I? No. Oh,
Sorry.
I
Yep.
said 20, in the motion it said 26, he said Central.
Yeah.
Yeah, good too.
Thank you.
And I described the parcel number and the Assessors Map 19.4 in the motion.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Blanton, and then I'll open it up to members of the audience.
Just one quick question. Are any of the actual title holders here present, or are they just being represented by you in this matter tonight?
I'm actually not representing them, I'm representing the commissioner.
Thank you for the correction. But
They're
not-
both represented by counsel.
Correct.
I don't know if they're here or not.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments by members of the board? Members of the audience? Sir?
Hi, good evening, members of the board. My name is Brian O'Connor, and I'm actually the prospective buyer of that property. As you can only imagine, it's been, kind of heart-wrenching to go in and find a house. My fiance and I have been residents of this town for 11 years, and we've been saving our money, and to be able to find a house within our price range. There's also a ranch that has, for medical reasons, a master bedroom on the first floor, and kitchen, bathroom, all that in one level, and enough room for our family, and to be able to stay in this town where we have children in the school has been kind of difficult. So I would implore you to, we've been kind of hanging on to this for a little while, and on top of, I understand not as long as you have, don't get me wrong, but for the amount of time and energy we've put in that we've had, even not knowing that was done, we've expenses of having the house inspected and the Title V done and all of these things that go along with purchasing a house. It's been kind of trying over the last couple of weeks with nobody knowing and the realty company not knowing anything, and everybody being kind of unresponsive that this was our one chance to come in and ask and to be able to hope and try and get something going, because, with having everything lined up with the bank, the loan in place, it was really just a matter of being able to close on it. And, with them being able to provide you with your back taxes and us, getting you money quarterly as, the taxes are due. I don't know, I guess I just wanted to be able to come up here and just say my piece to try and
The difficulty, if I might, for the board is that the property has been in non-payment of taxes for 5 years. The action that we took as a town for non-payment of taxes started over 2 years ago. You unfortunately were caught in the middle because no one told you that the house actually did not belong to them. It actually belonged to the town of Bourne after the fact, when you actually opened a P&S. Our hands are basically tied up here. That doesn't mean you can't get the home and the property, because it will be auctioned.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Would we even have a time frame of when this might go to a public auction?
If we have an auction before the end, we could try to put one together for spring. I think we could do one probably in May.
That's the time frame.
Because I know we would have at least, notwithstanding this property, we would have at least one other property and maybe 2 other properties to go forward. So that would make it worth the while of the town with the auctioneer and all the things that we have to do with that to move that forward. It's quite a lead time with the advertising and all the things that we have to do.
The only thing I can do is assure you if the board should go forward with the foreclosure that we would do everything we could to expedite understanding your situation with the desire for the home.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments by anyone? Any member of the board? Are we ready to vote? Motion's been made. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes. aye.
Thank you. Mr. Blanton?
Yes.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for taking me out of order.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do 9B. Continue under Selectmen's Business 9B, there's a similar situation with property located at 24 Central Boulevard. Again, this is a tax title for non-payment of taxes. The property had not been paid, taxes had not been paid since 2011. In August of 2014, we sent a letter stating we'd be taking legal action against the homeowner relative to the non-payment of taxes. It reached land court and began proceedings in October of 2014. After multiple dates of properties of foreclosure, we were granted, the town of Bourne was granted ownership on June 30th, 2015. Is there anyone here relative to this particular piece of property located at 24 Central Boulevard?
Yes.
Thank you.
Alexander Joyce. I represent the Hitchcock brothers. 2 of them are here today, George and Frank, ages 81 and 74. Lauren would be here, but he's just had dialysis.
Thank you, Mr. Joyce.
And this is a bit somewhat different than the previous property owned by the Castropheries. The taxes outstanding from 2012 were approximately $832, and associated charges amounted just over $1,000. The town foreclosed the equity or redemption sometime in July of 2015, several months ago, so we're within that 1-year period. This parcel comprises 5 small lots on 24 Central Avenue. There's another lot that's a little over 5,000 square feet that is still retained by the Hitchcock's brothers, which is not subject to a tax title foreclosure, but it is in tax title process. To compound this problem, there's a dilapidated building on the site. The Hitchcocks have not been living in the house, obviously, for several years. They've been in and out of nursing homes. One of the boys is currently living in the Bourne Oaks retirement community. essentially they didn't have the funds to pay the taxes for several years. The property has been in the Hitchcock family since the mid-1930s. I'm not here to argue facts, I'm not here to argue law, I'm here to plead for mercy. We do have the funds to redeem. We have $12,000 in our escrow account. I brought a check from the escrow account with me tonight. I asked the board to strongly consider some pleadings that I submitted back in December 1st. We have a buyer that is willing to remove the building satisfactory to the building inspector within 30 days of the land court vacating the absolute decree of foreclosure. I'm here to answer any questions that the board may have with respect to the property, the two different parcels that are subject to the tax title takings and the tax title foreclosure decree. And the Hitchcocks are here to answer questions as well as whether or not on their physical and mental ailments and why they didn't pay the taxes.
Okay, I'll open it up to questions from the board. Hearing none, is there a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would move again on this property as well. The Board of Selectmen not vacate the property described as 24 Central Boulevard, parcel 72, Assessor's Map 30.2.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I remind the board, this is
A revote.
a revote of action taken at your last meeting.
Second for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Motion's been made and seconded to not vacate the current taking at 24 Central Boulevard. Under discussion, gentlemen.
If anybody in the audience has anything to say.
I would open it up to anyone in the audience.
None?
What are the reasons not to vacate?
The property has been in non-payment since 2011, and there were some efforts to make some payments up through 13. But there were numerous attempts to contact the owners during 13, 14, and 15. And there were multiple court dates that were provided by land court in which no one showed up from the owners. And then finally, after several court dates, the foreclosure was granted to the town of Bourne on June 13th, 2015. I mean, you'll have to come to the podium if you would, sir, because we're being televised.
Thank you. My
Certainly.
name's Bill Robertson. I'm a potential buyer of this property as well as helping the Hitchcocks out who've owned the property since 1930, as Mr. Joyce has said.
Right.
I just feel from the human side of it, regardless of my take on it at all, that these people are probably perhaps not capable of getting to the courts or understanding what the letter may have been or was.
If I might, could you explain your relationship with, you're a real estate agent, is that correct?
I am a real estate investor.
Okay, you're an investor, so you've...
Right. We're
you've
going to put cash flow back into the town.
Okay,
That's correct. Yeah, we're willing to tear that building down immediately upon building inspector's approval, and take care of it and get some viable cash back into the town. Absolutely. At the
Right.
same time, help the Hitchcocks out. We help the town out. It's a win-win situation for the town, for the Hitchcocks, and for everybody, and for us, of course.
and for you, of course.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yep. And I see by not doing that, I don't see how it's a win for the Hitchcocks.
It's not a win for the Hitchcocks.
No. Only if they buy, only if you allow it, you allow them to redeem it, it would be a win for the Hitchcocks. Because they would put very valuable cash in their pocket that they need to, as well as put valuable cash back in the town.
Okay, gentlemen. Mr. Blanton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do we have any idea how much of that, I'm not asking for the figures or the numbers, but how much of that resource is going to be a benefit to the Hitchcocks?
probably in excess of $60,000. Divided by 3,
That's not what you said.
which isn't a whole lot. But to them it is.
Do we know what the ultimate, what's ultimately your plan for the property? Are you,
Is to tear it down and rebuild. Hmm. A 3-bedroom colonial.
for yourself? Are you?
No, no, no.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Ellis?
No, I'm finished, thank
uh, are you aware, or is there any knowledge that if this money is returned to the people who own the property, does that have to be split up and go back to anybody else that you know of?
I
Commonwealth
only
of
know
Mass?
of the 3, sir.
I'm sorry?
I only know of the 3. Lauren, George, and Frank, right, that's it.
It
Sorry.
doesn't have to go back to the Commonwealth or the federal government
Not that I'm aware of.
for Medicare, Medex,
Not
right?
that I'm aware of. I do not know that answer.
Anything else, gentlemen?
If I may add, if I could, the partner of my business is a resident of Sagamore. My business is in Bourne. Our contractors, several of them are from Bourne. It's a win-win for a lot of people.
May I ask how much you think that the property will be worth when you finish it?
We
developing it?
believe when it's done and said, probably about 290, 300.
Okay.
Mhm.
And the profit to your company, if I might?
Probably 40,000,
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
if everything goes right.
My thing is we've already taken precedent on a previous action, you know, and I'm afraid if we set precedent that we're gonna have to do this all the time, and I don't know, I'm still undecided at this point.
I can understand that.
We recently had one situation, Mr. Chairman, where a family was currently living in the residence, and for that reason, we did, we did not, we did vacate the property and allow them to redeem. But that was one or two families living in the residence, and they would have become homeless had they not been able to. Fortunately, they had some good fortune with some relatives helping them out, and I believe that's similar to the case, so I still,
This property is not livable.
No, we understand
Right,
that.
we know that.
And may I be heard on, there's 2 different parcels. One has been foreclosed upon, and that was in July. The second parcel has not, and that's still in the estate of the Hitchcock's father. That can, that can be redeemed at any time, well, until such times as the town goes forward in the land court and forecloses the equity of redemption.
question for the
That would have severe ramifications for the town to own this parcel with a 5,000-plus square foot lot next to them that's still owned by the Hitchcocks. We're trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone here and wrap this up, but that's your discretion.
Counselor, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Picard?
Letter from the Treasurer's Office described the property as 24 Central Boulevard,
Yes.
parcel 72, assessors map 30.2. That's the parcel with the property that has the house that is uninhabitable on it. Is that
That's
correct? So our records are correct, and this other parcel of 5,000 feet
Yeah,
is-
the 85, parcel 85.
Okay, all right.
And
I just want to make sure we were correct here.
it's in my package that I submitted on December 1st.
All right, thank you very much.
Mr. Ellis?
Thank you. Mr. Joyce,
Yes.
are you aware that if this money is, if this property is not vacated and it is sold, are you aware, as an attorney that's dealt with this, that the money that's derived from this that is sectioned to go to the Hitchcocks is going to be divided amongst any state agency or federal agency?
I don't have any personal knowledge of that, and I'm not a Medicare, Medicaid expert. That's beyond my expertise. Can't answer that.
So you're stating for the record that as far as you know, no other department or any other entity, banks or otherwise, will get any of this money?
I can't, I don't know.
Okay.
I can't answer,
I just-
honestly, I
just
can't
wanna-
answer that question.
Fine. So that's your answer. Thank you.
Okay, I'll remind us all that we have discussed this in executive session. Anything else, gentlemen? Shall we proceed with the vote?
Please do.
All right, all those in favor? Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Mr. Picard?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. Mr. Blanton?
Yes.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Vote is 5-0 to proceed. Thank you, Mr. Joyce.
Number 7.
I'm going to go back to the original agenda, so our next item is item 7.
Define your.
Mr. Sacco, are you here?
Thanks for having me.
Good evening, welcome.
Thank you. My name's Joe Sacco. A lot of people know me as JP. And I'm here today to ask permission in writing to visit the idea of reopening the shack at Monument Beach, which was once a hot dog, hamburger stand, breakfast place. I think the Whistle Stop had it for a while, but it hasn't been utilized as a cafe restaurant in over 6 years, correct? It's been a while. Anyway, I'm interested in bringing back a takeout service operation with a simple, healthy, affordable menu. We'll use local lobstermen for the lobster, farmers markets for the produce, bakers, local bakers for the baked goods. And just to give you an example of one item on the menu, because I know we're limited with time, one thought we had was a lobster salad with organic baby greens, accompanied by heirloom tomatoes, cucumbers, sweet onion, purple carrots, and a balsamic drizzle. If you don't like that type of food, if that's too healthy for you, we will be doing an Italian sub. We make our mozzarella fresh daily. My partner couldn't make it today. She's in Denver. Her name's Janice Wheeler, and she's owned and operated a custom catering business, golf course, concessions, ski resort services. She's done a lot of weddings and special events. She's a graduate of the Cornell Hotel School, and she'd be a great asset. And I'll tell you a little bit very briefly about myself. I learned the restaurant business at the Chart Room as a dishwasher. And I worked my way up the ladder over an 8-year period. 8 summers, I bussed and waited tables and prepped food, and I did a little bartending. One thing I learned is the importance of consistency and a good product. Currently, I have a restaurant bar in Chicago, in Lincoln Park, Chicago. I just sold a bowling alley in Davis Square, Somerville. I live in Pecasset. I frequent Monument Beach where the shack is. I'm involved in the Bourne Community Boating Program. I keep a boat at the marina. And I utilize the beach for paddleboarding, kayaking, digging clams. I really love the area, and the only thing I think we're missing is a food venue. And keeping the menu simple, I'm confident that the reopening of the shack will complement the marina life that's currently there. And I thank you for your time.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Meyer?
I mean, this is very aggressive. I mean, I do like what you have proposed. I just would like to hear from the code and town department heads through the root slip to see what they think about this. I just don't know if that's appropriate.
Could I jump in?
Please, Mr. Picard, questions?
I'm not sure that we're I don't think Mr. Sacco or the town's at the point for a routing slip, which eventually would come. I would think that, while this is a very energetic undertaking, and knowing the area, I think it would be great. We have some potential obstacles in the way of town bylaws about having a liquor license on town-owned property. We've had to give permission for that in the past, and I'm sure that wouldn't be a problem if we get to that point. I would suggest you went about it the right way, bring it to the board, let us see if we can help you develop a way to get this going, if possible, by putting you together with the town administrator, building inspector, Board of Health agent, and others to see how this could go. I mean, we don't even have any idea how much this would, how much renovation would take place, what would have to be brought up to code. The building inspector would handle that. What the requirements are for the kitchen area. The Board of Health would handle that, I presume, as well as the building inspector. The fire department would want to chime in on certain fire suppression systems, depending on what you had for equipment. But I think if we could put everybody together of the professional staff in a room at your convenience and their convenience during business hours, say in the basement of the town hall, and just have everybody kick out ideas and say, what are the impediments, and how do we get from here to here? And see, I mean, I think it'd be a great idea. So, that may be the way. Instead, I didn't want to jump on Mr.
Steve?
Myers' routing slip issue, but I think we're probably a little premature for that.
Well, I mean, I basically want the town departments to look, because
Yeah.
I would hate to turn something away. You know, we should do our due diligence and give the man a chance to succeed,
Sure.
and tell him what those impediments are, if there are any.
Right.
Mr. Ellis?
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Sacco, this is a very nice presentation. It certainly would look desirable for Monument Beach. However, you've got a few mountains to climb.
I realize.
Is it your opinion that you're going to share parking with the town of Bourne beach
That's
parking?
one of the issues. I have some ideas. I just knew we didn't have time to go over all of them today. So
They're
that's,
not through yet.
but one of my ideas was to possibly utilize the space in the, next to the Bourne Community Sailing Program, in the back where the rafts sit in the wintertime, that there's enough space there, even where, adjacent to where the trailer trucks, trucks with trailers are. There's enough space there that would accommodate my needs for the people that don't have stickers. But most of my clients are going to be people that already have the beach stickers, and they're beachgoers, and they're locals.
Well, and I noticed the chairman of the planning board is sitting right near you. He can address this
Okay.
if he wants to, but there are three members of this board who spent quite a few years on the planning board also.
Yes.
So to do this, just a rough estimate of what you've submitted, you're gonna need anywhere from 35 to 40 spaces yourself.
Right.
Now, to take that, plus whatever you're gonna be required to have for the beach itself, would have to be in excess. So if the beach requires 60 and you require 40, there's gonna have to be 100 spaces there. You can't say that the spaces that you wanna use can be vacated by those who go to the beach because it's a cloudy day.
Right.
It has to be done so that that's what the minimum requirement of the bylaw states.
Got it.
And you can get to the minimum requirement without too much trouble if you meet all of the different departments. And I agree with Don that it's probably the way to go is to sit down and have a draft discussion about going forward with this. This is very energized, uplifting, and there's a lot going on here. And the menu looks very palatable. My wife's a French cook, so I can tell you that it's very hard to get rid of this. So it looks very, very good.
Thank you.
But the bottom line is, you're gonna have to come into conformity with a whole bunch of very serious regulations,
I understand.
and especially when you're down in that area.
Right.
Because getting beaches in the town of Bourne are like hen's teeth. where you can go to a beach and enjoy yourself. Because a lot of the beaches, either you can't get to, somebody's shouting at you because you walk across their property, or something else like that. It's very difficult. So I would say that you have got to sharpen the pencil
Okay.
to do this, so that your 35 to 40 spaces
Right.
will work in conjunction with whatever the town of Bourne requires the minimum number of spaces for that beach. Because that beach is already shared now with a marina, with a boating group. And now you want to come on board, all of a sudden, the parking just explodes.
Right.
So, and it's a requirement, and I'm sure that the chairman of the planning board can inform you that it's become a problem with a bunch of other places. So you don't need to get into that mix where you create a serious problem for yourself. So my best suggestion would be, through the chair, to set yourself up a series of meetings that would be to your benefit and to the town's benefit.
Thank you.
The town administrator is more than happy to facilitate any
I
development.
don't think we need to take a formal vote on that, but I think,
No, I
have
think-
you received enough information, Mr. Sacco, to understand why we're
Yes.
okay.
So I think the next step for me would be to start setting up some meetings to discuss the possibilities, what I can and can't do, things like that.
Yes.
What I would suggest perhaps would be for you to reach out to the town administrator. I'll give you his personal cell phone number. 759-0600, extension 318. That's his office. And he, I think, could probably coordinate the meeting of all regulatory departments to sit with you with your plan on a given day for an hour or so, and you could present to them, let them come, and then on a date certain, say, we'll get back to Mr. Sacco in 2 weeks, and we'll meet here again in this room, and we'll outline what the specific issues may be with him opening a restaurant at that location.
Yeah, one of the concerns, and I don't know the answer to this, it's one of the things we'd want to ask, is the new septic system that was just put in. Is it going to have the capacity to do the water, the clean water, the gray water that would go through, is one. Leasehold improvements and liability for leasehold improvements, those types of things we're gonna wanna talk about. None are insurmountable, but let's sit down with the development group and see what we can do.
We've thought some things through, like we're gonna have paper products that are recyclable, and we're not gonna be washing dishes. So,
I know.
but like I said, I mean,
Let's sit down
we
and
need to talk about
let's
it.
all sit down and see what we can find out.
Perfect.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great
you for-
presentation, thank you very much.
for
The
consideration.
extension is 1308.
I'm gonna have to get a pen. I left my pen somewhere.
Good luck.
But why, is that his extension?
No, I don't get an extension.
I have his cell phone too, but no, you give me a call.
Thank you.
Have you been inside? Okay.
Licenses and appointments, do we have any licenses and appointments? We do. Letters, or we just read off of that?
Okay, that brings us up to section 8, which is licenses and appointments. Is Mr. Scotty here this evening? I don't see him.
Do we have appointment slips over there, Tom, so we'll know how the terms run?
Yes,
Could I?
we do. I'm gonna ask the board also to defer Mr. Goulet, because I have not heard back from him.
Okay.
Okay.
Could you send those over, Tom, and I'll read from the, we don't have anything in our packet.
Thank you, John. Mr. Mulvey?
This will be brief. How did you dispose of the last proposal?
He's going to meet informally with the town administrator and staff relative to discussions on meeting code and bylaws within the town zoning.
By motion?
No.
No.
No, we didn't need one. All right, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Under the appointments, excuse me, appointments, I would move the nomination of William G. Scotty III of Sagamore Beach to become a member of the Bourne Landfill Business Model Working Group for an appointment expiring June 30th, 2016.
Second.
Okay, is Mr. Scotty here? I think I just asked, but I don't see
No,
him.
he's not here this
okay.
evening, no.
Motion's been made and seconded to appoint Mr. Scotty to the Bourne Landfill Business Model Working Group through a term ending in 2016 June. Any other discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, the next appointment that I would move the nomination of David S. Palonzi to become a member of the Commission on Disabilities for a term that is valid until June 30th, 2017.
Second.
I have a motion made and seconded to appoint David Palonzi to a member of the Commission on Disabilities. Mr. Palonzi here this evening? He's not. Any further discussion on that motion that's been made and seconded? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, I would move the nomination of Michelle Spinney of Monument Beach to become a member of the Human Services Committee for a term that is valid until June 30th, 2018.
Second.
I have a motion made and seconded to appoint Michelle Spinney, a member of Human Services Committee, to expire on June 30th, 2018. Is Michelle here this evening? Would you like to come up and address the board, Michelle? Okay. Thank you very much. On behalf of the town, I'd like to extend, since you're here, I'd like to extend our greatest thanks for your coming forward. Is there any further discussion on that motion that's been made and seconded? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Greeno has asked that we defer Mr. Goulet for the Recreation Committee he has not been heard from.
Correct.
by
I
Mr.
need to
Greeno.
get- yeah,
He
we
needs
will-
to confirm, so
right.
we'll table that. You want to vote on that, or just?
No, we'll
pass
just
on
defer it.
Okay. Okay.
And then finally, this evening, we've got under licenses, we have a change of ownership in the Monument Beach Pizza, and we have a routing slip before us.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would move that the board approve the transfer and ownership of Monument Beach Pizza. The owner applicant is Sherry Balaji, LLC, DBA Monument Beach Pizza, Sanjay K. Sa, manager. I see that the fire department needs to inspect the property prior to issuing the license. Is it prior to issuing what license?
The transfer,
The transfer. All right,
the CV transfers.
okay. And everything else seems to be appropriate. I don't, we do have a completed application. And it has the photograph and description of the applicant on there. Now, so let me ask you a question if I could, Mr. Greeno. The fire chief said that they can't transfer the property until he approves the hoods and things. Is that correct?
He has to do an inspection
Well,
before,
we can grant the transfer.
pending the inspection.
Pending the inspection.
Well, we can grant the transfer, but any inspectional type of thing with regard to that business or any other, let the fire chief work with the
Right.
community to get it, work with the applicant to get it straightened out. I don't believe that this is a correct statement in the remarks that the fire chief needs to inspect and approve prior to the transfer of the sale.
It's a transfer of a license.
Right, and we can approve the transfer of a license, but in order for them to do business, they have to have their hood. I'm just, we went through this with the liquor licenses. You wanted to hold 3 liquor licenses. We already approved them in a public meeting. So I would move approval of the transfer, taking into consideration the remarks, but notify the applicant that we have approved the license transfer, but they still have to meet with the fire department prior to commencing operation of actually cooking their food.
Is Mr. Saar here this evening?
No.
He's not, okay.
So
So
that was
you're
my
making-
motion, that was my motion, I'm
I
sticking
think
to it.
you're saying the same, yeah, I think you're saying basically the same thing, right.
I've got a motion made and seconded to approve pending the issuance of a inspection by the fire department on the hood and Ansel system to approve the license transfer.
No.
No.
I believe,
The board approves the transfer. The fire department can do whatever they want to do with the hood and the Ansel system, but I don't believe that we are not transferring the license as requested just because of a minor semantical inspection by the fire department.
So the motion that has been made and seconded is to approve the
approve the li-
transfer of the license.
Approve the transfer of the license as
Thank you very
presented.
much. Okay. Mr. Mulvey. Thank you, Jim.
Maybe semantics, but if you approve the transfer, supposedly he can go right into the business, but he has not had approval. The fire chief could say, you're shut down until you get my approval.
Well, let him shut him
That you
down.
might, the word used by the chair previously was pending, and that might clarify it, but if you grant his right to operate without the approval of the fire chief, he can step in and shut him down.
Then he can do that, but he's got the transfer. The license has been transferred. We went through this last week with liquor licenses. The board voted in a public meeting to transfer licenses, and then there was a big note on the desk saying, do not give these licenses out until the fire chief approves it. Sorry, the board has approved the liquor license. That's what it's approved. If he wants to shut them down for another reason, that's his business.
I respectfully suggest that it wasn't the wording of the motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, before we go into that, let's take a breath here and we'll start from scratch with the motion and. if
I'll
there's a
withdraw the motion that I had. Somebody else can make it.
I'll withdraw my second.
second. All right. I need a motion, gentlemen, relative to the submission of the transfer
I
for.
make a motion that we approve the transfer of the license pending approval for pending any outstanding issues on the roof slip.
No, let's be specific, Peter, if you would. The only one is fire department, so let's just,
Pending issues with the Bourne Fire Department.
thank you very much.
Second.
I got a motion that's been made and seconded to approve the request of the transfer of the license from the Monument Beach Pizza pending final approval by the fire department as noted within the routing slip.
Then if this motion passes, Mr. Chairman, I would suggest that we better have the fire chief sitting at every of our meetings that we approve a license.
Well, you know what? I will take that as being a need to address that question for the next license transfer so we can get that squared away for the board. And I appreciate what you're saying. Is there any other discussion on the motion that's been made and seconded relative to the transfer of the license of Monument Beach Pizza? Mr. Blanton?
Obviously, we're going to be notifying the fire chief ASAP to get on over there and inspect their system stat.
I'm sure the department's watching this right now. I'm sure they will be they can let him know.
I'm sure the business owner will want to let them know right away.
Okay. Anything else, gentlemen? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
4-1. Thank you very much, and thank you for your point, Mr. Picard. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Send that down.
Under Selectmen's Business, 9C, nice one, land purchase discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Guarino,
I have a request. Could we, after 9C, take up 10A?
of course.
Thank you.
In fact, we can do 10A now, if you'd like.
What is 10A?
10A is the single stream review.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I know that there are members in the audience that I promised them we'd start this an hour ago, so.
Can we take a 5-minute recess? We're gonna be here a while anyways with some of these things.
There are 73 slides to look at.
No.
No.
There should be one. There should be one, Mr. Guarino. It's single stream.
Yeah.
Is there a desire for the board to take a 5-minute break? You want to excuse yourself, Mr.?
If I have to, I will.
All right,
Thank you.
very good. All right, let's go on with 9C then. This is a discussion of the possibility of a land purchase for the expansion of the landfill for property located off MacArthur Boulevard.
Mr. Chairman, for several years, the town has looked to the south of the current landfill operation at properties that may be available to assist in prolonging the life of the operation at the landfill. That may include landfilling and other types of waste reduction and power generation and other types of things. And I think this has been on, we've been looking at this since before I came to town 10, 11 years ago. Recently, over the past couple of years, and that recent in the 11-year period, we have entered into informal discussions with the property owner, Mr. LaRusso, who owns the property directly adjacent to the landfill, on the possibility of acquiring the property if there is any interest. Over the last year or so, there's been a peak of interest on both parties, and Mr. Picard has been very helpful in working with the owner of the property, reporting back to the the landfill project working group as to progress. Dan Barrett, Phil have been very instrumental in moving this along as well. The Board of Selectmen were involved a week or so ago, well, before Christmas, to discuss this in an executive session to try to move this forward. Mr. Picard has had the opportunity to meet with the owner, Mr. LaRusso, and I will turn that over to Mr. Picard, as he has been the most in tune with where we've been to date.
I didn't bring any notes. I didn't know I was going to have the floor. But in any case, yeah, we've, I don't know to what detail you want to get into, but we have been able to come to an agreement in principle, and it will require a town meeting vote. I know we had a presentation several weeks ago. Mr. Barrett came in and indicated what the potential revenue stream would be for a number of the lots, and this seems to allow the board, allow the town to go ahead and expand through phase 9. This would be phase 8. And at that time, move the operations of the landfill further to the south, thereby moving the operations, including the recycling center, down. Would also move the offices and open that up for landfilling for municipal solid waste or ash from Covanta, which is also municipal solid waste by definition. And it's a step in the right direction. It will require a town meeting vote on February 8th. And the warrant article has been drafted, I believe, by town council. And we'll we'll present it at town meeting and hope for the best. Anything else you want me to get into, Tom?
No, you did very well.
Okay.
I think the key is that this takes the landfill operational life
Right.
out to about 2031 or 2032.
Yeah.
And provides a great deal of time for technologies to come forward, for us to take on new endeavors. Harvest Power is a recent endeavor that wasn't envisioned 10 years ago or 12 years ago for the landfill property. And who knows what technology will bring forward over the next 10 years. It also provides a continuation of municipal solid waste for the municipality disposal, and for us to continue to keep that, some semblance of that service moving forward for the next several years as well. It defers the great deal that we have for post-closure of the operation for the town on its disposal of municipal solid waste as well. This has been well thought out. God, I think we've been thinking this thing out for years. I think the town will see that it's a good parcel of land. It does a lot for the municipality. The price is reasonable, and it will allow Dan and the operation with Phil and Jonathan to continue moving the operation forward. So council has prepared the article, and we will go to town meeting for a borrowing issue for the landfill under ISWIM as we move this ahead. I have nothing further. Dan, anything?
Any questions of us?
All
Paul,
those in the back.
question?
How big is the parcel?
The size of the
acres.
parcel?
12 acres, thereabouts, give or take.
Any other questions from anyone? Okay. Very good.
Are we gonna have time for all that?
I don't know.
9 o'clock.
I know. Okay.
Did we discuss the purchase price on that?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to go to 10A if we could. That is the single stream recycling presentation. I know I've got two members from the team ready to.
Well, we have a large team here.
Should we recognize the recycling committee that's sitting in the audience with their?
I actually wanted to set up everybody up around the table, but
They're more than welcome to come up.
One day they can bring chairs and bring them up.
you want to
They coming up? You wanna come?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Guarino.
as an introductory comment, the idea of single-stream recycling also goes back several years, not 11, but certainly 4 or 5 years we've been discussing this. We actually looked at the notion of single-stream back when we first started to look at the cost-benefit analysis of us continuing to do municipal solid waste pickup on a municipal scale as opposed to a private scale a few years ago. Single stream has become more of a mainstream of how municipalities do business in the collection of their municipal solid waste. I have asked John and Phil and George over the last several months to come forward with a proposal for single stream recycling. The recycling committee has been very ardent in supporting this project to come forward with a single stream project. We have met once on the cost of this with the capital outlay committee on rolling this out. The need for one of the main needs of this February town meeting was in fact to put the proposal for a single stream recycling process to the voters so that if it were approved, we'd be able to put the orders in place and get things ready to go during the heavier part of our year when there's more residents here and we're able to roll this thing out, roll the program out, more efficiently. The long-term benefit we see to this, and is a couple of years down the road, it will certainly allow us to modify our routes. We'll have more efficiency in how we collect municipal solid waste and recycling. The workers' compensation costs that we believe, and that'll be addressed, I know, in the proposal tonight a little bit, but our workers' comp costs are expected to be reduced. Eventually, staffing on the vehicles will be reduced, and we'll have a higher, I think the biggest positive on this is that we will have a higher percentage of recycling going on throughout our community. Now that places take single stream and are able to market it in a different way than we've been able to do in the past, I think that the town will benefit greatly from this over the next few years. Last year, capital outlay in the town meeting with the Board of Selectmen approved the purchase of 2 vehicles, $250,000 roughly apiece, that will be ready to go if we move to this arena, they'll be ready to go, and we are proposing retrofitting some of the old vehicles temporarily while we ramp up over the next 4 or 5 years to make this a full-fledged process. So with that, unless there are questions on the intro, which was longer than I expected, I will turn this over to Mr. Nelson and Mr. Sala to move forward and thank the recycling committee for their help on this with Mr. Goddard and certainly Mr. Barrett for all the help they've had.
Yeah, so I would like to just reiterate that we are a team. We've been working on this well over a year since I've been involved, and it goes back well before my time. So,
Jonathan, could you recognize the members of the recycling committee?
yes, there's, let me see who's here tonight. We have Meredith Chase. Betty is here. Betty Stoidel. And Heather.
Mrs. DiPaolo
Heather
is here.
DiPaolo, I'm sorry.
Amy Sharp.
Oh, and Amy, I forgot Amy's over here.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, he's new, that's right.
So thank you for taking the opportunity to speak with us tonight regarding the single stream and curbside operational changes that we're proposing. They're tied in together. It's not just the single stream portion. It's also the changes to what we call, or what the industry calls, semi-automation, where we'd be making changes to our operation. So one of the missions of the DPW and ISRM departments is to provide high quality and efficient service. Where the DPW is long since I've been a little kid. Remember the green trucks coming through the neighborhood, picked up trash for God knows how long. The same way. It's the two guys right on the back of the truck, and guys right on the back of the recycling trucks. Some of the problems that we've identified with our current operations. We have extremely low curbside recycling rates. You see our last 3 years of data on the right-hand side of this chart. We're up to about 900 tons of recycling collected at the curbside, that's annually, as opposed to about 6,000 tons of trash. Trash and recycling accounts for a high level of workplace injuries and lost time. We've had roughly, we average anywhere between 70 and 100 lost days a year, and that can be based on some years. It's hard to track some of the data. Some of the times, the majority of those incidents are related to trash and recycling. There's a lot of shoulder strains, a lot of back strains, jumping up and down off the back of the truck, you name it. And the other issue that we're facing as a department and a town as a whole is trying to create efficient processes for daily operations. As most of you are well aware, the DPW has seen reductions in staff over the past year. We lost a vehicle maintenance mechanic, as well as recently, due to the failed override, a crew chief. So that creates needs to, the residents still expect the same level of service, and we are trying to move forward to provide that. The numbers you see, I only provided 2 towns today because for how other towns compare curbside rates, it's extremely hard to find the data for just curbside. We've had a very hard time just getting that information for curbside rates. I'm hoping to increase these numbers, but a lot of the towns do it by total tonnage. So these rates are Sandwich and Newton are just 2 towns that do have a very successful curbside operation program. They are pay-as-you-throw communities. We're not recommending to become a pay-as-you-throw community, but most of the towns with very high recycling rates are pay-as-you-throw communities.
Is there an average, Jonathan, for the Commonwealth of what people are recycling compared to our 14%?
I would say that the average is definitely over 30 for the towns that we've researched.
Okay.
So. I want to remind everyone that we have a recycling bylaw in town. There's a mandatory recycling bylaw. We've heard this applies to both residents and commercial entities, businesses. So we wanted to put that out there because George can attest to it on a daily basis. There's a lot of stops where we find people that aren't recycling. Everything's in trash bags that get picked up. And here are some of the photos of some of our operations. The photos on the left are gentlemen working on the recycling truck. You can see that they're constantly lifting above their heads, which is a known, lifting significant weight above their heads, which is a known shoulder injury associated with that. As well as on the right, you see some of the trash collection that you'll see the stop on the top is all trash. There is no recycling. The stop at the bottom is just a high volume of trash with a little volume of recycling. They just head out the blue bin. These pictures kind of illustrate what our guys go through on a daily basis. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, George, but and this is just recycling. The trash, the guys, are picking all those bags up. We've tried to reduce injuries by implementing a team lift program and doing training where we actually set up an obstacle course up at the, we used to set it up at the landfill, not the new site, but up at the landfill, and where the guys go through and are taught to properly lift and rotate your whole body, not your back, when you're putting stuff in the carts. But we still have injuries. We also have a high turnover rate. The gentleman who stay in the laborer's position, we've actually had a high turnover rate as of late, where it's a tough job. Most of our laborers that work on the trash and recycling trucks are below 45.
Yeah. Plus, if you look at the pictures, it's a rapid pace that they're out there. They're out there when it's raining, snowing, cold, warm, hot. It is, within our department, probably one of the hardest positions, and the guys do deserve a lot of credit for what they do. So I want to stress that they're one of our hardest workers that we do have.
However, one of the most vulnerable.
Yes.
One of the most vulnerable. And to reiterate, we've been doing it the same way for 30 years,
If not
longer. But so our solution to address these problems is to institute a cart-based curbside trash and recycling program, and it's known as semi-automation. Fully automated trash service is the truck that comes out with an arm. It picks up the containers. We are not recommending to do that at this time. There are problems with rolling that type of program out in communities, and based on our collective experience with this, it's our recommendation is to just go with a simple semi-automated process. So the goals of the CART program are to greatly increase our recycling rates, our curbside recycling rates, reduce workplace injuries, and also to create some efficiencies through both scheduling and manpower allocation. So here is the outline of our what we think the best service would be. And I'm going to read. I don't like reading from the slides, but I'll read this slide. Our policy: we're going to provide carts to residential properties with four or fewer residences. That's been a long-standing rule that we've done. It hasn't been applied. We give some leeway to that, but each household will receive one 96-gallon trash cart and one 96-gallon recycling cart. The carts will remain the property of the town of Bourne. The residents will be responsible for their care and upkeep, but there will be a warranty. The vendors will provide warranties on the carts, and they only cover normal wear and tear. So a wheel falls off or a lid cracks, but the residents are going to be expected to maintain their carts in good standing order, not leaving them out in the roadway to get smashed by a snowplow or a car. Any of that type of damage, the resident will be responsible to replace the cart at whatever the town's cost is. We'll get to that slide in a minute. Roughly, it's about $60 a cart. But the carts must be at the curbside no later than 7 a.m. and no earlier than 5 p.m. the night before. All trash and recycling must fit fully within the container. The lid has to be closed. We'll give some leeway with that, but the lid should be closed on all the carts. We will not accept bags or recycling left outside the cart. So people stack up cardboard boxes or contract their bags with demo debris. We're not going to pick those up.
Have we been picking that up?
Yes.
Okay.
And one of the reasons we've been picking that up is it's hard to. We haven't had the best enforcement. We've been changing it slowly. George has actually really been working on this to try to. We've had stops where there'll be 50 bags of trash, at the curbside, and it'll take the guys 10 minutes to sit there and get all the trash up in the cart.
In one of the previous pictures, you just saw a wheelbarrow with probably about 15 bags of trash in there. And that does take time out at the curbside to put everything back into the truck.
We track our trucks with GPS, and what would you say the average stop time is?
The GPS stops right now are monitored anywhere between 4 minutes and 8 minutes per stop.
Sometimes those stops they'll get multiple houses, so but some of those stops are significant amounts of trash. Additional changes that we're proposing that Currently, there are some town buildings, including this building, that have outsourced container or dumpster pickup for their trash. So in addition to this program, we're planning to roll out containers for both recycling and trash at all the town municipal-owned facilities, schools, community building, town hall, all those places. We're also going to roll in additional carts for the schools. They have carts now, but we kind of want to expand the program a little bit when we convert to the single stream. The carts, we got some feedback during the planning process. The carts will have RFID tags and barcode tags on them. It's a combination RFID/barcode. And the sole purpose of these carts is to provide proof of service and time between stops. The DPW won't have the technology now. We're not planning on purchasing the technology now because we'd like to roll this out and look at making the routes more efficient prior to committing to purchasing the technology. The main use of the technology is to track each time a cart is dumped into the hopper of a truck. The information will be held by the Department of Public Works, and it won't be sold or transferred. So the only thing that our readers are going to read is the trash container. The containers will be signed to a residence, and they were not even going to be signed to a person. So. So here are our list of violations. We've gone back and forth on this a few times. We've bounced around. We had more violations. We've reduced violations. But our list of violations are as follows. Trash recycling located outside the cart. Carts overflowing with trash or recycling. Unapproved materials, which is a large one. Going to a single stream process. The sorting facility is very the way that they sort, or our sorter, is very susceptible to contamination in the trash. Like paper waste, that's the shredded paper can create problems. There's numerous products that can create large problems when they sort the recycling. So the key for us is going to be continued education and continued mailers and flyers to people, and that's really an important item to track with the residents.
However, I have a question.
Please, Peter.
Let's say I want to go to the recycling center directly. Am I still going to be able to take my brown bag and throw it in, or are we going to be taking our barrels that we each put in the back of the truck and bring them over to the recycling center and then dump them out?
Your plastic bag. So we are talking about making changes. ISOM is talking about making changes to the residential drop-off center, and that will, if converting to the single stream program, we do not want plastic bags in the recycling. That's one of the items that will change. You won't be able to just throw a plastic bag into the drop-off center's container anymore. The use of carts for other purposes. Some people, I could just see them being used for leaves or wood, or I'm not sure, and then not replacing a broken cart if there's a cart that's completely smashed in half or something like that that's left out at the roadside. We will require the residents to fix those. So the penalty will be 3 recent violations, which recent is in the last month, will result in a term. That's very lenient, by the way. A lot of communities actually charge a fee or and they're much stricter on how many issues they allow. But the 3 recent violations will result in termination of curbside pickup and reporting of the residents to the health agent. That resident will be able to apply to the DPW to be reinstated, and to explain to us why they're going to correct that, how they're going to correct their issue. We plan to offer an initial grace period during the rollout phase. We're hoping that all the carts are rolled out by the beginning to mid of August. So if the voters so vote at town meeting, but and the initial grace period will be until Veterans Day. We figured 3 or so months would be good. So this is what the recycling cart will look like. It is a 96-gallon cart with a blue body and a blue lid. It will have the insert for the recycling, what's allowed in the cart, printed into the top. And I don't know if. Would you like to bring in? Would you like to
carts?
You can bring in both if you want, but
Couple other things too. Although we've been trying to get away from it recently with our current pickup, there won't be going back to people's houses. Your trash is gonna have to be out by 7 o'clock. If it's out at 7, if we come by at 8:30 and it's not out, you can't, there won't be ability to call back. We won't be able to send a pickup truck back like we do now frequently. Because this is, you have to have your trash out on time, or you'll have to wait till the next week. And
Through the chair, if I may.
Mr. Blanton?
On that point, Tom, John, you'd said that we could have the trash out the night before, but not prior to 5 PM. What was the rationale for that? We have,
there's numerous, I'll let George explain it. There's numerous issues with that.
Well, one of them is the summer residency. They'll leave on a Sunday. Their trash isn't picked up till Thursday. They leave it out at curbside right now. What we end up with is, whether it's seagulls or the crows or whatever, our animals, they're all over. Next thing you know, we got litter all over the place.
Some people just put it out. It creates a health issue. If the bags are ripped open, if an animal goes through it. So we're trying to limit that time period.
And some towns don't even allow you to do that the night before.
Really?
So.
So, we'll get to the rationale. And the reason why we looked at the 96-gallon carts for both trash and recycling is they're the 96-gallon. If you drive around Bourne on a typical trash day, most people take there are a lot of trash. There's a lot of trash at the curbside, and we felt a lot of communities look at using a 64-gallon container for trash and a 96-gallon container for recycling. With a lot of those communities, it pay as you throw, but the sole purpose is to increase your recycling rate and restrict that waste, the trash waste stream. We have, for the residents of Bourne, we've said that a lot of people will have 2 barrels out there, and a 96-gallon container is basically, they normally have either 35 or 40-gallon containers at home, trash barrels at home. The 96 would accommodate those people that have that large trash load on a weekly basis. There have been some questions regarding the sizes and the weights of the carts. The weight of the 96-gallon cart, without trash obviously in it, is they range, depending on the manufacturer, from 37 to 40 pounds. The 64-gallon cart is just a few pounds shy of that. They range from 33 to 35 pounds. So we really looked at all the variables when we discussed that, and we actually find the 96-gallon cart is a little bit easier to tip because they have wheels. The carts have wheels on them, and you would roll easier to the curbside.
they're much more stable too, if you're bringing them down an incline. The 96 is a much more stable unit. It's not gonna twist in your arms, in your hand and your wrist as you're bringing it down if you hit a bump, as easily as the smaller unit is. From personal experience, the 96 is a much easier container to use.
The new single stream guidelines will include all the items that are listed here in the bullets. I will have this after tonight. I will have this PowerPoint up on the town website. But one of the other issues that's come up is whether or not we could technically single stream now. And this isn't just a single stream project. It's a combined project. But one of the issues that's come up is, should we just single stream now with the containers we have? Based on the way that we pick up curbside recycling, there's two faults with that. I wouldn't recommend increasing the tonnage for the way we pick up recycling now. It would create numerous issues for our staff. We have very small trucks. Our recycling trucks are very small. They don't pack well, and it would create problems, additional issues and time issues with our staff. But this going forward, if we implement a single stream project, this is the waste stream that we will accept into the containers. You'll see it greatly expands from what we have now. It offers a lot more. It allows the homeowner to really reduce our waste stream greatly. These are our prohibited items. We got very specific in this list. It looks very long. But we put K-cups on here in wood. Shredded paper, we're not gonna take shredded paper in the containers.
But we will continue to offer the shredding service that we have at the landfill. We have the shredder come up, what, twice a year, once a year? At Peebles? Okay, so we'll continue to do that, so folks have an opportunity to get rid of their documents that they want shredded as well.
Here's a picture of the trash cart. We decided to keep the bodies of the carts blue, so for the future, we could just change out the lids and not have to purchase additional carts. We'll say trash only on it. So basically, all the prohibited items and non-hazardous household waste will be allowed in the trash cart. The biggest thing is to really change the mindset of trying to recycle first, make the effort to recycle first, and we're trying to make it as easy as possible for the residents. So we added a picture of our new trucks. The truck on the left is our new truck that picks up the containers on the side. It's called a side load truck, and the retrofit truck is that's our big yellow rear packers will have retrofitted cart tilts on the back. That's what it looks like. So, I have a feeling a lot of residents are going to be questioning, whether what they'll do, how are we going to reduce their trash, how we're reducing how much trash we pick up at the curbside. And I want to remind everybody that the ISWIM Residential Recycling Center is always open. Dan and Phil and Asa are up there doing a great job managing the drop-off center, and so it's $30 for a sticker, right? There's some additional reduced rates. It's open 7 days a week in the summer, and it literally takes most items that you can think at some point or another. So, I wanted to touch base on what the actual cost is to the town for funds for curbside trash and recycling. ISWIM, as I know all you know, and I want the residents at home to understand this, that ISWIM provides the financial backing for our curbside operation. They pay for all of our the employees associated with trash, their benefits, a lot of the soft costs, some of the fleet maintenance and repair costs. They're all approved. The spending of this money is all approved through the Department of Revenue. It's one of the few
The benefit.
benefits that we can actually spend money on through ISWIM. So the total estimated solid waste collection and disposal cost is estimated at $1.2 million for this year. That includes the disposing of the 6,000 annual tons of trash in the landfill at $36 a ton. It also includes all the items you saw on the last slide. We don't pay for that tonnage, but that's what it takes up in airspace. So the big thing to take away from this is that single streaming our recycling is not going to cost. It has no disposal cost. Our guys are going to pick it up, and we'll transfer it to a container. But the hauler brings the container down to our new. Where ISWIM did a great job retrofitting the old baling building to a single stream center where we accept some single stream recycling from other communities on the Cape. But we just transfer it to that container, and the hauler picks it up and takes it away. They don't charge us a fee. Just explain that slide.
Thank you. Jonathan?
Yep.
How many other communities on the Cape do we collect from?
Dan, do you have that information?
From the single stream, we got Yarmouth.
So it's open to all communities. Right now, we're doing about 3. Falmouth is our biggest customer.
That's for trash.
No, that's for
And-
single stream.
Single stream as
We're
well.
also developing some private customers for
Yeah.
single stream as well.
Any of the lower Cape communities participate?
Not yet, but we're working on getting those in as well. It's pretty competitive right now.
Sure, thank you.
Our project costs are, this is what the total project we're estimated to cost. The 96-gallon carts, as you can see, is really the majority of the cost of the project. We're looking at the base level figures that we received from the assessor's office, and we need to check a few things. So this number may go up, fluctuate a little bit. But we have 8,049 households that would apply, that would be eligible for the program. $60.55 a cart is a little high. It gives us a little bit of flexibility. I expect the price probably to come in once we bid it and everything to come in probably in the $55 range. The cart, we're retrofitting 4 of the rear packers with those cart tilts. We're also going to retrofit 2 of the rear packers with hooks to pick up the town dumpsters. And you can see the community outreach and advertising dollars in there. Here is our proposed schedule. If this is approved, the funding is approved at the February 8th town meeting, and we are planning, and I'll let Dan talk maybe about the funding source for it.
Can you come up to the podium, Dan? No, thanks.
Apologize, because I'm sure I'm gonna hear from my boss. I didn't dress appropriately tonight because I was in charge of bringing the barrels
Dan, you look
over.
great.
Yeah, I look like I should look. Anyway.
Dirt.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, the funding will come out of ISWIM. Most likely will come directly out of retained earnings. As we have some aggressive proposals for use of retained earnings right now, not the least of which is paying down our debt, which we talk about all the time. Also the purchase of the land, we're either gonna borrow that or we're gonna pull that out of retained earnings. That decision will be made before the February 8th town meeting. But there is sufficient funds within retained earnings to fund the curbside recycling program and purchase of the appropriate cards.
Thank you, Dan. This is how we view our major milestones that we have during the rollout process of this, if it's approved at February 8th town meeting. By March 1st, we'll have ordered the carts. There's a new process on the state bid list where you have to basically kind of do a bid on the new bid site. But we should be able to accomplish that by March 1st. And hopefully in mid-March, we'll start rolling out the town meetings, similar to what was done on the override, between the town staff and the great recycling committee we have to do a lot of public outreach and education. We plan to send out one mailer as a sole mailer, and we also plan to attach another mailer to the tax bills that go out in June. If we plan to start rolling the carts out probably mid-June, early July, and hopefully to have those rolled out in 6 to 8 weeks, delivered to all the residents.
Who's gonna be helping with the outreach?
The
Recycling committee, they're gonna be the ones hosting these meetings, or?
No, the town staff will organize the meetings with along and hopefully have a great amount of input from the recycling committee. They're very, very, very passionate about this program, and I would invite Meredith up to speak if you would like.
Everybody said I was going to do. I want to wish a happy new year to all of you.
Welcome, Meredith.
Yeah.
Nice to see you this evening. I
Thank
love
you.
your hat.
And I've been president or chairman of the recycling committee forever. It's true. The committee is very excited about this project and will recommend at the special town meeting to vote in favor of this. Our purpose, the recycling committee, is to educate the residents of Bourne with material that will be available via the newspapers, flyers, and on the internet. At the special town meeting, we will have flyers and the containers. Single stream will enable the truck drivers to be more efficient, also cut down on the injuries, since there will be only 2 workers to a truck. No job will be lost, as the third person will have duties with the DPW. We now have a full recycling committee after many years of just 3 of us. Also, we're geared up to speak to groups in the town and to have them understand this process, and it will extend the life of the landfill. So, just go to
Thank you,
Thank you very much.
Jonathan, is there included within the outreach, are we going to be talking with real estate agencies that are going to be renting, so that we touched on the landlords and renters as well? Because I see that as being a real big stumbling block.
That is an excellent point, Mr. Chairman Mealy, and I will make sure we include that in our
Okay.
plan.
Having been a former renter and landlord, so.
So you see, I also plan to do a local access cable show that hopefully I don't have to do multiple. We can just rerun the same one.
Oh,
over
we
again.
should have you
No,
on.
we're gonna have a series.
Series,
We're gonna-
David, yeah.
So
Mr.
people can
Guarino and I
binge
are
watch
great on
later.
Yeah, excellent.
So our expected outcomes, I'm really hoping to get an immediate jump in curbside recycling rates. I would hope that after the first year, we could achieve double our current rate, and try to get up to the 30%. That's really my goal. I think that's probably a very ambitious goal, but I really think that the that goal is achievable if we really hammer home the education piece and the outreach piece.
And enforcement.
And enforcement. The enforcement's going to be
That's gonna be a tough one.
another tough
It is a tough
reduced lost time to workers' comp claims and a decreased employee turnover. The biggest thing to take away from this slide is that one of the real and Tom touched on this earlier when he introduced this. It's very hard to talk about how much we're going to save with this program. I didn't want to do this program we're not presenting this as a cost savings. The long term, there will be a long-term savings. No matter how I slice it, I always come up with basically a 7 to 10 year payback on the investment, most likely a 10. But it's a long-term saving. That's without creating efficiencies in the route scheduling, and our current routes as they are. I don't think we've done a current route analysis in a long time. The goal is to get the carts out, get everybody successfully using the carts, and then to do a route analysis to see how we can better our operations. It's a constantly, we need the data to back it up. Every community is differently that does it, and it's a constantly evolving process. We'll reevaluate the program after it's rolled out to see if there's changes that need to be made or improvements that should be made. We'll take feedback welcomingly from the community, and let me keep moving on because this is getting a little long.
Will the RFID systems and the GPS tracking on the trucks help with
Yes.
analyzing
Yes.
data to
Our
create those
our
efficiencies?
thought is that we could hire a consultant to do the route planning and efficiency. They'll have the technology that they can affix to the trucks and do this. We don't need them on the trucks all the time, so it's something that they could do with us.
This
work with us.
process right here should help with that data collection.
That is correct. Yeah, that is correct. It makes it converting to a cart program also makes it you can time each stop to a. When we bought the new trucks, we did a lot of time trials to ensure that even if we didn't get the carts, that the trucks were still a savings. But having 2 carts at each stop, that you can time that with a stopwatch. This is how long it's going to take you to pick up the trash. This is how long it takes you to pick up the recycling. It's easy. We wanted to touch on. We received feedback early on about how can the businesses be included in the single stream program. And the largest we've worked with iSwim has come up with some nice benefits that our local businesses can take advantage of. A lot of small businesses, one of their larger expenses is their waste removal. But we're allowing them, they can work with a commercial hauler, that they can dump the recyclables at iSwim for no cost. They also can, if they want to arrange with iSwim, they'll be able to come and drop off their own recyclables for free. It really would behoove local businesses to take advantage of the recycling program we have in town to reduce the cost of their waste stream. So. And what to do in the interim. So this has come up a few times. There are no requirements right now to separate. We don't require the residents to separate their recyclables anymore. You can put all your recyclables in whatever container you're currently using for your recyclables at the curbside. We do want to let everybody know that we will possibly be using various trucks. We have been using various trucks, especially when we had a recycling truck broken down, to pick up recycling. So just because you see a yellow, trash truck, or what we said was a trash truck picking up your recycling, doesn't mean that we're not dumping that in the landfill. Yes. And are there any questions?
Gentlemen?
It's a great job, by the
I
way.
want to thank you for educating us before tonight's meeting, so we were made aware.
if I could, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank the recycling committee again. This has been a long, hard slog to get this to this point, and the folks at iSwim and George and Jonathan have really taken what the selectmen have asked for over the past couple of years to get things done efficiently, move things forward, professionalize the operation, and those are the things that we're looking to do, and we continue to strive to do. We have the folks here to do that. Phil has been absolutely essential in helping us put this whole project together as well. And I just can't thank all of you enough. I asked you to do something, you've done it very well and brought it to the selectmen, and I thank you very much.
Any questions from anyone in the audience? None. Okay.
Great job, guys.
Thank you very much,
Steve,
gentlemen.
Can we
Please.
just go back to what Jonathan said? As of right now, there is no need to separate the recycling, just so that we all know that. Even at curbside now,
Are you going to try to do some publicity with that?
yes,
Okay.
we're gonna work on that.
Tags on the bags or something?
I mean, even right now,
We've actually, that's been in the newspaper.
yeah, we have stressed it. But we still are getting calls on that right now. So right now, we are co-mingling everything together on the recycling.
Is that worth a reverse 911?
No.
Okay.
And I wanna thank you guys for all your help.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good job, guys, thank you.
I wonder.
Sorry to be so
9D,
firm
I'm
on that,
looking
but
for direction,
Yeah,
because I have some questions.
I'm sorry?
9D. If not, I'll talk to you after the meeting about what my concerns
Can
are
I
with
just ask a
9D.
clarifying question? So this was a great presentation, and I just want to ask, I guess I'm being George Mulvey here for a moment, but is this on the February 8th special town meeting?
Yes.
warrant? Okay, I was under the impression that you were going to be voting this tonight, but it's already on there, so that's great. So we'll just get
The
everyone
article
educated.
is drafted, the Board of Selectmen will sign the warrant on the 19th.
Okay.
If Mr.
Good.
Sala and Mr. Nelson say put it on, we put it on.
Okay, excellent. All right, thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Service.
My understanding is Sean Goulet is here.
Yes.
Oh, hey.
Mr. Goulet is here, I wasn't aware, and he has in fact met with the rec director. I had a brief conversation with him. I thank him for his patience, Mr. Goulet, for your patience. And would ask that the board move forward his nomination to the Recreation Committee.
Mr. Chairman, based upon Mr. Goulet's willingness to serve and having expressed that to the town administrator and the recreation director, I would move the name forward for nomination to the, as a member of the Recreation Committee of Sean Goulet of Bourne, to be appointed until June 30th, 2016.
Second.
Got a motion made and seconded. Sean, would you like to address the board? You don't have to, but if you'd like to say a few words, if not. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
I have a motion that's been made and seconded to appoint Mr. Sean Goulet to the Recreational Committee for a period to end in June of 2016. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much again, Sean.
Sean, in April or May, if you are enjoying your term, you'll want to give us notification that you wish to be reappointed or not. Okay.
Okay.
It's coming.
Gentlemen, we've got 2 budget discussion items, plus goals remaining before us, plus selectmen's reports, plus other business. And seeing the hour of 9:15, the building technically closes at 9 p.m. Tuesday evenings.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we defer 9D, E, and F to our next meeting, and hopefully we have more time to.
We'll
devote
plan
to that.
accordingly. Is there any discussion on that from anyone?
Second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. That would be to put off the budget discussion. Although, Mr. Meyer, you had a brief question on 9D. Is that something we could cover in another minute?
Well, what it is now we have liaisons to these groups, and we need to start going out and talking to the committees in which we are assigned to, but we've received no budget, FY17 budget information, and what I read somewhere recently, that we're supposed to have recommendations back before we look at the budget in mid to late January, so I'm a little confused on.
Well, you want to go ahead?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, the per town bylaw and per the charter, the town administrator must provide to the board a budget recommendation and budget submission to the Board of Selectmen by the 15th of January. I have asked Mr. Guarino to start preparing any of the smaller budgets that have been reviewed by himself and what his recommendations are as a preliminary recommendation to provide those to us as soon as possible. He is going to do that, so we can start in earnest in some of our review work. I know that you and Michael are working with the Bourne Public Schools, so that's really unrelated to the requests that would be coming in through the town administrator.
Yeah, well, that's gonna become a conflict next week, and we can talk about that.
Well, I understand there's a meeting on the same evening as ours, so we might expect that both of you gentlemen might either be late at our meeting or completely MIA, so that's totally understandable because of the scheduling, so. Anything else?
I think that's it for now.
Okay, very good. Any other questions from anyone? Okay. We're gonna defer, and I would entertain a motion, unless there's.
Are you deferring the town administrator's report
No,
too?
we're just deferring 9, D, E, and F.
Okay.
Point of order, you have a motion and a second.
You have a motion in a second.
Oh, thank you very much, gentlemen. Any further discussion on the motion to defer 9D, E, and F? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Guarino?
A couple of things. I will keep it short because it is late. VisGov, Visual Government Budget, is alive and well and live on the Town of Bourne website. There's 2 notifications on the front page of the website. One is down in the lower left-hand corner that says Bourne Visual Budget. The other is a notification on the news briefs that we put on the middle of the webpage as well. I really strongly recommend that any resident that has internet access to go on. You can take your tax bill, you can look at every department, salaries and expense, as to what your taxes are actually being utilized for in each of the departments in town. I also suggest for those of you to get the full experience of the visual budget is to download Google Chrome. It works much better. You get a much more detailed analysis of what we have on Google Chrome, and I would strongly suggest you do that. I want to thank Linda and MJ and the folks at Visual Budget in putting this together. We had some glitches relative to where the decimal point ended that was making some errors in our availability of cash and what things cost. So we needed to work that detail out over the last couple of weeks, but it is done, it is live, and I recommend that you take a look at it. I want to address briefly some comments that have been brought to me that have been up on the Facebook page as recently, and I'm a little concerned that folks aren't fully up to date on some things, I guess, after all the summer that we've had. There's been some real pointed discussion relative to the open basketball, open gym, I guess, that we have in town, and why there is suddenly a fee assessed with that open gym. I will note and I will remind folks that the Recreation Department, after the failure of the override, lost all of its expense money. There is zero money in expense. The recreation department runs, other than the director's salary, half of the assistant's salary is out of fee generation as well. But to offer any programs now, they are all fee-based, and to be able to assure that kids that can't afford to pay to participate still have the ability to do so. But I do note that in the 9 meetings we had over the summer, relative to the override, and then the final meeting we had, when the departments also discussed what they had. I just am going to read from the Recreation Department, that's been out there since the summer, cancellation of all free community programs that are currently funded. The other question that has come up is, why is it stopping at 5:45 in the evening? It's because Swish comes in. And we promised to keep Swish going in this building. And that's why there is a $40 fee that can be paid in installments. It also allows us to really keep a good record of who's participating or not in the program. There are 256 children, I'm going to say, even though some of them are not little kids, but children that have signed up for this. So the notion that this wasn't noticed over the course of several months, I think is not fair. We did in fact notice it. It wasn't specific about open gym, but it was cancellation of all free programs. And perhaps we should have extrapolated it out some more in hindsight, but I thought that was fairly clear. And we tried to make the presentations concise to 1 page or 2 pages so people could easily digest them. There is no funded expense money in the Recreation Department right now, and all programs are going to have to be paid for.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Meyer?
Yes. As part of an email that I sent to the town administrator earlier today, I also asked, and he will provide at some point, an analysis of what we're actually saving for the community building by cutting the building down to a minimum amount of days per week for fixed costs, i.e. utilities, as well as payroll man hours, to see what the actual savings is, to see if maybe it was the right recommendation to do. And he said that he didn't have enough time to do it tonight, so he will get back to me.
From 1 o'clock this afternoon.
I know, but I mean, you'll get back to me at some point.
Sure. It's not just a cost saving, it's a reutilization of various personnel in the building to do other things. Specifically, we're going to be moving custodial services around to help out in other areas as well. I will note again that I believe every project, including pickleball, after I spoke with the rec director today, all of the programs that were being offered on a 5-day-a-week schedule are being offered on a 3-day-a-week schedule, and we've been able to expand certainly the outreach capacity of our outreach workers to include a couple of evenings a week. They rotate so that we're able to take care of folks that are maybe working but still in need of various services that can come in after work and not have to take time off. So we've accomplished a couple of goals. We've tightened up how we schedule. We utilize the building better. And we are, I think, providing a better outreach to folks through the additional hours that we do have on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
That very well may be the case, but I just want to see your report or your recommendation on it, because we've taken time where we've looked at, it's done with ambulance revenue study, private versus public, the marinas and everything else. I just want to see what the direct benefit is here going forward.
I think, if I might, Peter, I think what you're really asking is how much more money do you need to come up with in order to provide free gym? Because really what it boils down to is this board and town meeting voted budget adjustments And if you want to change the way it's being done now, you're going to need to accommodate that by additional funding, which was reduced from the recreational expense portion of the budget.
That may be, but I still want to see answers of what we're actually saving, but by condensing everything to fewer days. I just want to see if actually it is, are we actually doing the right thing based on the resources that we have?
No. I have fielded, Mr. Chairman, I've also fielded a couple of calls and had a couple of discussions over the Christmas holiday that, people are upset at the fact that they're losing 2 days a week in the building, and I'm sure it's both from a perspective of the COA as well as the Recreation Department. And so it is a concern, it is being brought up, so, I think Mr. Meyer's questions are well-founded, and hopefully we'll get an answer that we can take back to the constituency that says this is why. I'm not sure if we will get the answers they want, but at least we'll get answers.
MJ has her hand up.
Mr. McGuire?
No, MJ has her hand.
I know, just, yeah, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Blanton.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, just to echo Mr. Picard's sentiments, I've also heard from other members of the community that have expressed similar concerns that there are other community-interested groups that used to use the building on various occasions, and they've inquired if they come on in and have very minimal needs, is there some way that their groups could be accommodated, because there isn't other relevant space for them to be able to meet. So,
If I could, there has been one group in particular that I know was concerned, and we have been able to offer them space at the town hall.
Was that the Lyme support group?
On the Monday group, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
We've accommodated that, because we do have some meeting space
Yeah,
downstairs as well.
There's some real needy people there that really need
Yep.
to use that some space, and if they
And
can't
that's,
use it here.
it's accessible, there's a lot of things with that.
I think that's a
so.
fair compromise.
Mr. Ellis?
Thank you, sir. These are all legitimate questions. They come forward, and all of us get telephone calls, and I think it's, we always make an effort to bring forward what those concerns are before the board. But frankly, I don't give a damn what's on Facebook, and I don't care what they say, because not everybody has Facebook. And half the people that are on Facebook are trying to build up their own background anyway. What we want is solid facts and figures that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis with this committee, and so that we can come up with some just answers. If you have a question, anyone on Facebook, they should notify the town administrator, go through the chairman, and get it as a part of the register for the agenda for this vote. Frankly, half the people on Facebook, the last time I was even shown a Facebook was Don Picard and I was zeroed in by 1717 to be removed, which I would just love to get into that argument. But I think that's irrelevant, and it shouldn't even be discussed. So I think that,
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ellis.
so,
All right.
I don't want to belabor this,
Okay.
but, we brought this forward. The selectmen understood what was going to occur. That doesn't mean there cannot be adjustments as we move forward. I think we go to the February town meeting, we're looking to make some adjustments. I've asked Jonathan and Chrisanne to provide me a cost analysis as Mr. Meyer has requested. I put that out this afternoon. So it is my hope that that is available for you in the very near future.
Thank you.
A couple of members.
Please, sir.
This is just
MJ.
on the building. It's just on the building, right?
Speaking for myself,
For the record, MJ?
Mary Jane Mastrangelo from Catomet. I think that the community building issue is more than just like looking at single programs. Did we make a space for this program, and we did make this. I think that it's very close to the hearts of people in Bourne. I think there's a sentiment of the community building, not just in this building, but historically the community building. There, I think, is a volleyball group that has played volleyball on Thursday nights for 40 years or something. And so these are the things that I think we have to have a really good open discussion. Yeah, in the override, we said there were going to be changes, but, did we say, well, this volleyball player, which I don't think is a recreation program, I think it's just a men's group. So, did they know? I don't know. And I don't know if people are going to change their opinion. I just think that we need to step back and say, are we doing it right? Should we, if some people are in the building for lunch, say that other people can't be in the building? I mean, does that make sense? I just step back and look and see, how can we do this better, and how can we make the best for the community with what we have? And that was really what I wanted to say.
I concur, and as I said, we have to go back and tweak things but at some point, we can't afford to offer everything back. There were hundreds of thousands of dollars of cuts that had to be made.
Hi, my name is Martin Rayner. I live on Taylor's Point.
Good evening and welcome.
Hi. I've been playing basketball basically my whole life, and my son is 9 years old now. I've been coming to this community center with him since he was 2 or 3 years old. It's not so much the fee. I'm all about the kids. I run a basketball program at Bourne Elementary. 2 years ago, we're working on starting back up. I tried to do it here. It's a nonprofit organization. I tried to do it here, was denied, said the space isn't available. I've seen programs, I've seen the mentally handicapped come in here and be turned down to use the building, right? And so to hear that you want to offer programs in the open gym, how much money are we talking about? The open gym is open from 2 for my son's age group, the K through 3 or 4. They're open at 2 o'clock and it closes at 4:45, 3 days a week. They get out of school at 3 o'clock. He's home at 3:40. I physically go and pick him up at school so he can come to the open gym where we're the only people in the gym. 2 people in the gym. Sometimes 4. So the gym is not being utilized, and there's no supervision in the gym. So if you're calling that a program, that you have the gym open and the building's open anyway, how is that a program?
The requirement is having personnel in the building to ensure that something shouldn't happen
And
to
if
you or
there
your
is a
son.
fee-
If you wouldn't mind.
Okay.
The purpose is to have people in the building who are responsible for the building and for you, that if something happen, they can address it. The Board of Trustees for the building requires a janitor to be in the building anytime it's open to the public.
And if there is a fee, my question to the trustees, what is the amount for those 3 days a week, for those 3 hours for it? Is it $500 that you're trying to make, 600, 1,000? What is the number? 'Cause
I
I'll
don't
try
know
to-
that's off the top of my head.
Try to figure out the number, what the number is for those 3 hours a week. I'll try to raise the money for it
Fair enough.
to pay for the fee. So the kids K through my son's grade could use the gym.
I don't know if there's only 4 children or 5 children using it, but as of November, the Recreation Department took the program over a year ago, this past November, from the Community Center Director, because there was no supervision and there was some concern from liability perspective. And I remember the board, we had this discussion. Since then, since that November date, we've registered 256 children. There's a $5 drop fee that will go toward a $40 balance. Once the $40 balance has been paid, there's no additional fee. Over a 4-month period, based on the number of hours opened, and the number of children that have signed, that have registered, that doesn't mean they all use it, but the number that have registered, it comes out to about 23 cents an hour per user, if we were to utilize all those children a couple days a week. Now, I know that we maybe not, but during vacation, certainly it was quite.
And then there's a line on the bottom where it says, because I come to the gym a lot, and you'll look at the board, you could change the hours at any time. So I come in and then, hey, there's no open gym today. This is going on, or that's going on, or it's closed, we don't have this. So I don't know how you are, but I wouldn't sign up for that membership. I don't plan on signing up for that membership. I'll try to raise the money so the kids don't have to pay it, because that's what it's about. It's not about, there has to be a number that you're trying to get. If it's 200 kids at $40, now break that down by the age group. How many of those kids are the K group? There's a number. There's a way to figure that out. What is your number?
And I misspoke earlier. The gym's open at 4:45. Swish starts at 5 o'clock.
I know, I've been coming here since he was 2, so.
I remember. I know.
Oh.
I know you have. So I thank you.
Sir, I applaud you for coming in and also for bearing with us until this late hour. And I can assure you that if there's anything we can do to accommodate exactly what you're saying, that we will do everything we
Because it's
possibly
not
can.
about the $40. I have the $40. I'm sure some people do, some people don't. But I'm prepared to offer my services
Exactly.
to run a program here. But I don't think people should, if I'm volunteering and I have volunteer coaches, college coaches helping me, I don't want to charge the kids. Because it's about giving back. That's what it's about.
Yes, it is.
So,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. For the record, Mr. Chairman, Michael and I met with the Recreation Director before coming, and we're gonna meet with her next week, when our schedules are available to further, educate ourselves on what's going on.
And please let me know when that meeting is.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Anything else, gentlemen?
I have nothing further because of the hour, Mr. Chairman.
Selectmen's reports? I'd like to get it out there.
Go ahead.
I just have one
Yep.
item I'd like to
Yep.
bring up, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
I would like to add, I would like to request at one of our next meetings,
Yep.
a review of a potential finance policy that I have crafted. I'd like the board to review it, I'd like to discuss it, and I'd like it to either become part of our financial management policies and guidelines or a member of the Selectmen's policy.
Okay.
And the title is Role of the Board of Selectmen and Town Administrator.
Okay.
And the reason I put this together, there's been a few things that have occurred in the last 6 months that we have not communicated fully with the town administrator, in my opinion. So hence, I'll read this very briefly. The content of this states, the town administrator is responsible for the day-to-day operation of the town. The Board of Selectmen maintain broad policy authority and do not participate in the day-to-day operations of the town. The budget for the town of Bourne is the responsibility of the Board of Selectmen. The budget is the Selectmen's budget. Therefore, the town administrator will present the following to the Board of Selectmen for approval prior to entering into any agreement or contractual matter. Any contract that will have an effect on the budget of the Board of Selectmen in a positive or negative manner, any agreement with a consultant to be entered into, including legal counsel, a budget will be established and approved by the Board of Selectmen prior to engagement. Any hiring promotion during a hiring freeze will be approved by the Board of Selectmen. Any new position will be approved by the Board of Selectmen. Any settlement or financial concession not covered by the town's liability insurance will be approved by the Board of Selectmen. Any departmental realignment, reconfiguration, or elimination will be presented to the Board of Selectmen in executive session for approval prior to the public announcement of said organizational change. This is to avoid unnecessary interruption or the affected departments in consideration of the personnel services, contract employees, or employees covered by a collective bargaining agreement. I think we try to do these. There have been occasions where we have not. For example, I believe there were a couple of, for example, the fire agreement that Mr. Guarino signed with 1717. We did not have any input on that or even have any knowledge of it. Additionally, there was a parking agreement signed by the administrator with Admiral Gernon prior to his departure that we had no knowledge of, albeit just a $18,000 or $20,000 a year amount. We knew nothing of it. So this is my suggestion. I'm hoping we can.
Okay. What I'd like to do is run this by town council, just for review relative to the charter.
I think there's some charter issues in here.
But I appreciate what you're proposing.
Overall, I think it's very good, Mr. Picard, in all seriousness.
Yeah.
I do.
Charter.
But I don't, there's a specific, there are some specific things in the charter on a couple of these that I'll be more than happy to go over them with you.
Yeah,
to be sure
fine.
that we're in line.
But I'd like that reviewed by, I mean, I'd like to have the town administrator review that with town council or the chairman or whomever, and I'd like to see that it comes forward for discussion.
Thank you. It will. Okay. Mr. Mulvey, quickly, if you would.
As the proposal
No, we're not gonna
goes,
talk, we
and I
can't, Jim,
believe is the-
Jim, we're not gonna talk about this evening. It's not on the agenda, it was proposed as a possible,
Okay, but without comment, I was merely going to suggest
okay,
that the subject matter is under review by the Charter Commission, which meets tomorrow. And perhaps where it may not be an agenda item, there is a provision for comment on a non-agenda item. And this is heavy and warranted, and it might be a good idea, I'm speaking as an individual, to attend the 6:30 meeting tomorrow of the Charter Commission and bring this forth to get it started on.
I'm not available tomorrow evening, but I'll be glad to forward it to yourself or Mr. Yule, is he the chair?
Yes.
Yeah.
it may be premature only because it has not been reviewed by town council.
Yeah,
Well, it could be acknowledged as such, but even a copy of that might be something to submit to the chairman of the Charter Review Committee.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
I think the concept of this is good. I think there are some charter issues that need to be looked at.
Thank you, John.
Welcome.
Okay. If we might, to finish up, I have some things I wanted to talk about, but I can certainly let them wait until the next meeting. I'll try to make the next agenda shorter so we can accommodate everybody. Okay, anything else, gentlemen, tonight? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Got a motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Happy New Year.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you all very much.